Anti-party hopping bill to be tabled in July. JETTY'S price in Bersatu questioned, and France votes in tight presidential race. Those are the headlines for tonight. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Muhammad Yusuf, and you're now watching TVS Nightline. To begin with this story, the anti-party hopping bill is set to be tabled during the parliamentary sitting in July. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob on Sunday said the government has no intention of delaying the matter.
He said this includes the Constitution Amendment Bill No. 3, 2022 to be tabled tomorrow. The Prime Minister said as soon as the Constitution Amendment Bill No. 3, 2022 was approved, with a two-thirds majority or more than 148 votes, the government will set up a special committee comprising representatives from the government, the opposition, and academicians to work on and draft the anti-party hopping bill. Ismail Sabri hoped that the matter can be expedited, as the government's target is to table the law during the parliamentary meeting in July. And he finds no issue about the amendments not being approved, as all parties are in support of the bill. Earlier today, Ismail Sabri attended a special briefing on the Constitution Amendment Bill No. 3, 2022. Also present were Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Parliament and Law, Datuk Seri Dr. Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar, and Attorney General Tan Sri Idris Harun.
A recently completed jetty in Kampung Mutab, Bersatu has become a subject of scrutiny on social media. The reason? Many finds the finished quality of the project is not worth 50,000 ringgit price tag. However, in a statement, JKR Sarawak said that the estimation cost is based on JKR Sarawak schedule rate year 2020 with a rate of 9,000 ringgit per meter cube for bullion timber.
On April 7th, Sarawak Public Works Department published images of the completed project on their Facebook page. However, the posting was not spared from the harsh criticisms of Facebook users who deemed the project not worth its allocated budget. At the time of reporting, the post has received over 7,000 comments and 4.8 thousand shares. Bersatu Assemblywoman Datuk Rosie Yunus, when met on Sunday, said she is well aware of the issue. However, she has no further details of the project. Thus, she urged Miri Public Works Department to look into the matter and conduct an investigation immediately.
Voting is underway in France for the first round of the presidential elections on Sunday, April 10th, with far-right candidate Marine Le Pen posing an unexpected threat to President Emmanuel Macron's re-election hopes, with opinion polls predicted a low turnout rate in which every 1 out of 3 people may not come out to cast their votes.
French president is elected for every 5 years, and if none of the 12 eligible candidates this year receives an absolute majority of votes in the first round, a runoff would be held. Until just weeks ago, opinion polls pointed to an easy win for the pro-European Union centrist Macron, who was boosted by his active diplomacy over Ukraine, a strong economic recovery, and the weakness of a fragmented opposition. But his late entry into the campaign with only one major rally that even his supporters found underwhelming, and his focus on an unpopular plan to increase the retirement age, have dented the president's ratings along with a steep rise in inflation. Opinion polls still see Macron leading the first round and winning a runoff against Le Pen on April 24th, but several surveys now say this is within the margin of error. In contrast, the anti-immigration Eurosceptic far-right Le Pen has been boosted by months-long focus on cost-of-living issues and a big drop in support for her rival on the far-right, Eric Zemmour. Voter turnout by midday was only 25.5%, the Interior Ministry said, below the 28.5% corresponding rate in the 2017 poll.
Now onto some local story. 6 boat crews of a foreign fishing boat tried to bribe their way to freedom with 5,300 ringgit after their vessel was detained by the Bintulu Malaysian Maritime Enforcement Agency (MMEA) at about 90 nautical miles from Sungai Kemenah.
According to Bintulu's MMEA Director Maritime Captain Muhammad Khairul Anwar, the seized items were worth 500,000 ringgit, which included the boat, fishing tools, 3 kilograms of sea cucumber, and 2,000 kilograms of salt. Their operation lasted for 10 hours when the Vietnamese fishing boat tried to flee upon detection on April 8th at about 9 p.m. 4 of the suspects were able to issue their personal identification documents, while the other 2 failed to issue similar documents. Even so, the suspects failed to procure a legal permit that allows them to fish in Malaysia's waters. The case will be investigated under the Fisheries Act 1985 for failing to issue relevant documents. Upon conviction, they are punishable with a fine of up to 6 million ringgit and 600,000 ringgit for each crew involved. The case will also be investigated under the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission Act 2009 for attempted bribery to authorities, which carries the punishment of 20 years in jail and a compound of not more than 5 times the amount of bribe or 10,000 ringgit.
The Vice President of Parti Persaka Bumiputera Bersatu PBB, Dr. Anwar Rapai, dismisses elements of competition following his remarks on defending his position as Vice President of the party, having the backings of PBB Nangka branch members, a position he assumed since 2018. The Nangka Assemblyman pointed out that the party's Supreme Council will be re-elected in the upcoming PBB's convention, which is slated to take place in June. Anwar, who is also the Deputy Minister for Education, Innovation and Talent Development, previously received 764 votes to appoint him as the Vice President of the party. The Ministry of Education's move to scrap the rotational school system is deemed timely with the country's transition to endemic phase. Sarawak Teachers Union STU President Adam Prakash Abdullah said the COVID-19 pandemic has greatly disrupted the education sector, especially students attending their classes.
Jadi dengan berita penghapusan sistem giliran ini akan membolehkan semua pelajar, semua murid turun ke sekolah seperti biasa. Jadi kita juga telah melihat dan mendengar keluhan daripada pelbagai pihak akibat pandemik ini di mana pelajar-pelajar hilang minat untuk belajar, pelajar-pelajar tidak menyertai PDPR kerana ketiadaan internet dan sebagainya. Maka pengumuman ini adalah sesuatu yang sangat mengembirakan semua pihak.
At the same time, the move is seen as a recuperative effort of the national school system, particularly in addressing the shortcoming of online teaching and learning.
Kita mahu sistem pendidikan kita pulih seperti biasa dalam keadaan segera agar sebarang kelemahan yang dilakukan semasa PDPR itu boleh diperbetulkan dalam keadaan segera melalui sekolah bersemuka dan tanpa penggiliran. Ya.
On April 8th, Senior Education Minister Datuk Dr. Razid Jidin announced that schools under Group A states will be fully returning to schools without rotation starting April 17, while schools in Group B states will start on April 18. Additionally, Razi emphasized on the importance of standard operating procedures SOP compliance when students return to school.
Now, Malaysia remains in the dark on the actual number of Malaysians being detained for alleged crimes in Cambodia. Although 16 Malaysians were confirmed by the Foreign Ministry to be in good condition in the Cambodian authority custody, the government is keeping a close eye on the case.
Yang terbaru kita dapat maklumat ada 16 orang warga negara yang ditahan oleh pihak berkuasa Kemboja yang sekarang ini telah dihantar ke balai polis di Phnom Penh untuk disiasat. Selalunya apa yang berlaku ialah sebaik saja kita dapat maklumat ini, maka malawakil akan hantar wakil ke pejabat polis itu dan cuba mengadakan pertemuan dengan mereka yang ditahan ini. Lazimnya hubungan kita dengan pihak berkuasa Cambodia ni baik, ya. Dia yang jadi masalah ni bila kita tak tahu mereka di mana. Kalau mereka telah ditahan, lazimnya kita akan dapat jumpa, kita boleh bagi khidmat konsular dan sebagainya.
Saifuddin said this after officiating the Hindu Sangam General Meeting in Kuantan, Pahang on Saturday. Previously, Malaysian Chinese Association Public Services and Complaints Bureau Chief said over 50 people, including 2 Malaysians, were arrested in Cambodia for an alleged involvement in online gambling.
Thank you for staying with us. Now, the Civil Aviation Authority of Malaysia, CAAM, said a malfunction to the pitot-static system that produced a false speed indication, resulting in the aircraft to pitch up and deactivated the autopilot of flight MH2664 bound for Tawau to make an air turnback to the Kuala Lumpur International Airport KLIA last Sunday, April 3rd. Its Chief Executive Officer, Datuk Chester Wu, said that was the finding after CAAM reviewed the preliminary safety investigation and engineering reports regarding the incident.
Fu said the malfunction produced by the instrument that measures the pressure differences to determine airspeed and altitude caused the pilot in command's immediate and correct reaction was to regain positive control of the aircraft. During the maneuver, he said, safety data showed an abrupt input from the pilot during attempts to regain control. However, these maneuvers resulted in pitch and altitude changes that correspond with the pilot's report and passengers' experience on board. Vu said the flight crew's initial actions and the execution of the abnormal recovery checklist as per standard operating procedure was sufficient based on CAAM's investigations of the initial reports and based on the FDR. He said CAAM has instructed Malaysia Airlines Berhad to immediately implement several requirements to maintain effective safety oversight. The requirements include enhancing Malaysia Airlines Berhad upset prevention and recovery training program to emphasize initial reaction and time taken to respond to issues. Meanwhile, CAAM also confirmed that the affected aircraft has been grounded until further notice and was currently pending technical analysis from the Boeing company. Malaysia Airlines said in a statement last Tuesday that flight MH2664 from KLIA to Tawau performed an air turnback due to technical issues with the aircraft compounded by bad weather en route on April 3rd.
The Perikatan Nasional PN must be consulted on any decision regarding the dissolution of Parliament, said its chairman Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin. This is because PN is part of the coalition that formed the present-day federal government. The Bersatu president said the matter was stated in a meeting between PN leaders and Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob in Sri Perdana Putrajaya on Saturday. During the meeting, Muhyiddin said Ismail Sabri emphasized the close cooperation with the coalition in the federal government and gave his commitment to consult coalition leaders in determining the country's key policies. Also present at the meeting were past President Tan Sri Abdul Hadi Awang, Parti Solidariti Tanah Airku or STAR President Datuk Dr. Jeffrey Kitingan, Sabah Progressive Party SAPP President Datuk Yong Tek Lee, and Gerakan President Datuk Dr. Dominic Lau Ho Chai. Eligible youths aged 18 to 20 and full-time students at local institutions of higher learning IPT can register to receive 150 ringgit in the form of e-cash credit under the e-Pemula program starting Monday. The e-cash credit will be distributed through 4 service providers, namely BigPay, GrabPay, ShopeePay and Touch and Go e-wallet.
The e-Pemula program is open to Malaysian citizens aged 18 to 20 in 2022 or full-time students taking diploma or Malaysian Skills Certificate Level 4 and above at registered local IPTs. Apart from 150 in the form of e-cash credit from the government, the e-cash service providers will also provide additional incentives in the form of cashback, vouchers, accumulated points or coins during the program period. Additionally, the registration and claim period will start from April 11 until June 1st, while the e-Pemula credit and matching benefits from the e-cash service providers can be spent until June 10, 2022. The e-Pemula will be officially launched by Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob on April 15. e-Pemula is a cashless transaction scheme for youths aged between 18 and 20 years old, as well as full-time students in higher learning institutions, where 150 ringgit will be credited on a one-off basis into the respective e-wallets. According to the Ministry of Finance, the government has allocated 300 million ringgit for the program through the 2022 budget.
Welcome back to the TVS Nightline. Now on to some global updates. Australians will head to the polls for a general election on May 21st. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison announced this on Sunday after he lodged his formal recommendation for the election date with Governor-General to dissolve the parliament and call the election for all 151 seats in the House of Representatives.
Well, good morning, everyone. Earlier today, I visited His Excellency the Governor-General and advised him to call an election for the House of Representatives and half of the Senate on May 21. And he accepted my advice.
The governing Liberal National Coalition has been in power since 2013. If victorious, Morrison will become the first Prime Minister to win consecutive general elections since 2004. However, a poll finds that the opposition Labour Party and its leader leads in net satisfaction with the party more preferred. Launching his re-election campaign on Sunday, Morrison said that the coalition could be trusted to lead Australia's economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic.
This election and this campaign is incredibly important because there is so much at stake for Australia and our future.
The election campaign, which will last about 6 weeks, is expected to be dominated by issues surrounding the coronavirus pandemic, climate change, cost of living, and housing affordability.
Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan was ousted on Sunday after he lost a vote of confidence in Parliament. He was deserted by his coalition partners, who blame him for a crumbling economy and failure to deliver on his campaign promises.
The announcement of the vote's result came just before 1 a.m. local time after multiple adjournments in the lower house caused by members of Khan's party who said there was a foreign conspiracy to oust the cricket star turned politician. Opposition parties were able to secure 174 votes in the 342-member House in support of the no-confidence motion, making it a majority vote. There were just a few legislators of Khan's ruling party present for the vote. Khan, surged to power in 2018 with the military's support, recently lost his favour within Parliament when allies quit his coalition government. Opposition parties say he has failed to revive an economy battered by COVID-19 or fulfill promises to make Pakistan a corruption-free, prosperous nation. Pakistan Parliament will meet on Monday to elect a new Prime Minister. Opposition leader Shehbaz Sharif is the front-runner to lead the nation of 220 million. 70-year-old Shehbaz, the younger brother of three-time Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, has a reputation as an effective administrator. Khan is the latest Pakistan's Prime Minister to be ousted. No Prime Minister has completed their full term since independence in 1947, although Khan is the first to be removed through a no-confidence vote.
Wrapping up the Nightline, Shanghai on Saturday carried out another round of mass COVID-19 testing, this time testing residents at least twice in a single day. But the extended lockdown curbs have hampered supplies of food and other essential goods for the city of 26 million, as numerous supermarkets have been shut and access to medical care has also been a concern.
A city official in Shanghai acknowledged shortcomings in the handling of the outbreak. As it grapples with a COVID-19 resurgence, the mega-city is taking steps to guarantee the supply of daily necessities, with the local government taking measures to ensure supplies and goods are delivered to doorsteps of residential compounds. All logistics channels, including wholesale markets, distribution centers, logistics centers, and e-commerce warehouses, are open for smooth delivery, and businesses including supermarkets, community-based vegetable stores, chain catering industry, and drugstores will stay open for online orders. The Chinese financial hub reported 24,943 new asymptomatic coronavirus cases and 1,006 new symptomatic cases on April 9th. While those case numbers are small by international standards, the city has become a testbed for the country's zero-COVID strategy, which seeks to test, trace, and centrally quarantine all positive COVID cases, insisting that the country stick to its zero-tolerance policy to prevent its medical system from being overwhelmed.
And that's all the time we have for tonight's TVS Nightline. For more headlines, head to our website at TVSTVMY or follow us on our social media. Once again, I'm Muhammad Yusuf. Good night and thank you for watching.